In this video, I'll be sharing with you a continuation of our previous tutorial on how to cut and sew a simple 3-part corset. So if you haven't yet seen the drafting tutorial, please go down to my YouTube channel at BasqueCorset, or I'm going to leave the link at the description box. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So here is my pattern which we cut out from the previous video. So I used it to cut out the fabric. So for the main fabric, I added 1/2 inch all the way round and at the front and also at the lower part. For the main fabric, I'm using a Duchess. For the lining, I'm using a doll face. For the main fabric, I ironed an estee. So I doubled the layer of estee I ironed on the main fabric. Now, on the side of this pattern, I also ironed estee on the main fabric. So I added 1/2 inch round except from the side. So on the main fabric, I also ironed estee on it, while on the lining part, I ironed a gum stay or pepper stay, if that is what you call it. So now I'll go ahead to join the lining part first. I'll be joining it with 1/2 inch, and I'll also stitch with 1/2 inch on the other side of my pattern, right? Now after stitching this, I'll also join the main fabric the same way with 1/2 inch, just like I stitched this. So here is the main fabric. I'll also go ahead to join it with 1/2 inch, right, to this other side of my pattern. So just like I said, you're also going to add 1/2 inch for stitching allowance to your pattern. It's only on the side of this dress you won't be adding like a joining allowance, because we already did that when we were cutting this out. So after pinning this, I'll bring my back pattern, which I'll also join together. At the top, I notched where my yoke will start. Please go ahead to also notch yours when you're doing that. So now I added 1/2 inch all the way around except for the side, because we have already added that while cutting. Now I'm just going to place this, and on the lining part of my back pattern, I ironed gum stay to it, and I also ironed a gum stay to that of the main fabric too. Unlike the front part of this pattern where I ironed gum stay, to the main fabric. So I'll stitch with 1/2 inch on the sides of my pattern. Now this is the lining part. I'll also repeat the same process. Place it, and I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch. Remember, for this pattern, it is only this side now that I'm joining that you will not add like a sewing allowance to, because we already added 1/2 inch when we were cutting this out on the pattern. So I'll just go ahead and join this up. After joining, this is the lining. So I went ahead to like iron it. By the side, go ahead to notch this so that your pattern or your fabric will relax very well. So I'll also repeat it on the other side, and I'll also go ahead to notch the main fabric of this dress also. So I'll also notch this, and after notching this, I will notch the other side. So you have to pay attention to the waist of this dress also. You have to notch the waist so that it will relax, because that part has the curvy side of this dress. So for this pattern, I'm doing the invisible boning method, right? Now you can use any boning method of your choice. What I'll do is to iron open my pattern, and I'll be stitching my boning on this. So for the boning, I'm using a sewable boning, and I will be stitching this on it. Now you can also create an invisible boning method on your main fabric. All you have to do is stitch the boning on the allowance instead of stitching on the main fabric. So here is my dress, and I'm going ahead to like stitch the boning on the lining, right? So just like I said, there are different ways to achieve your invisible boning method. You can stitch it on the allowance of your main fabric, or you can stitch it on the lining part of your dress. so that there won't be any joining line on the main fabric. So when you're also using this method, you want to go ahead to add enough interfacing to the main fabric of your dress, so that it's going to sit properly and relax. If not, the front part might not be suitable enough to hold the cup side of your dress. After stitching, this is what I have. I'll stitch the other side, and this is what I have after I'm done stitching. So next, let's work on the cup. Here is for the lining piece of my cup, which is a 3-part corset. So I went ahead to like cut this out, and I will be pinning it. So for the cup, I added 1/2 inch round. I'll be doing a better explanation when I'm working on the main fabric. But for the lining, I ironed a gum stay to it, right? So you'll be joining this with 1/2 inch, and you also be joining the other side with 1/2 inch. So I'm going to be showing you where I added 1/2 inch round. That will be on the main fabric. So this is what I have. I'll go ahead to stitch and also stitch this side. So now here is my main fabric. So if you notice, I added 1/2 inch round it, and also on the upper part of the cup I joined it together. So now I'm using a bra foam for this. So you can decide to like double your bra foam for each cup, or just cut a single piece for it. So it totally depends on what you want to achieve. But if you're working on somebody that has a big bust and you're working with a bra foam, please double it. You can also use an already made cup for this pattern. Let's go ahead to join up your cup and then attach your already made cup to it. So now let's go ahead to open our cup. So the same way I'm opening this, that is what you will do for if you're working with an already made cup. The only difference is you'll be ironing an stay to the main fabric. So make sure that you notch your cup, the part facing each other, so that you don't misplace it for another side. Now I'll now unpin this. If you notice, I pinned it together. I'm going to go ahead to open it up this way and place each side on it. After that, I'll go ahead to join it the same way I joined my lining. So after I was done joining my cup, this is what I had already. So now I'm going to go ahead to iron this out. Now you're going to use your tailor's ham, and you're going to iron your cup. Ironing here is very important for your cup, so I'll just go ahead and I will iron. I'll also iron the lining, the other cup also, and after I'm done ironing it, I will now go ahead to join it to the main bodies of the corset. So after ironing, this is what I have. Now it's time to attach this, right? I'll take where I have the joining and join it to the middle of where I have the joining on the cup. Now I'll go ahead to start pinning. So at this part, pinning is very important. It will help you join your cup easily, especially if you're having issues joining your cup. So please go ahead to pin before going ahead to join your cup. It makes your work easier. So now when you're fitting your cup and probably the space you have does not fit the body, you can go ahead to notch. That is, notch the body of the corset to match the cup, right? So just like I said, go ahead to notch the body of your cup if of your corset. If it's not matching your cup, then place your cup and pin. So this is what I have, and I'll go ahead to stitch it round, and I'll join this other side also. Now here is the main body of the corset. Let's add the cup. Now I'll go ahead to trim out the excess cup I have here. So I was supposed to actually cut it out before ironing. So after this, I'll open up the joining and I'll pin it to the joining of the main bodies of the corset. Now I'll start pinning to this side. So I'll just go ahead and pin to the end and also pin towards the center of the cup. After pinning, I'll pick up the other side and I will start pinning also. Now I'll pin this to the end. Make sure that it matches. Now, just like I said, if your cup is slightly bigger than the bodies of your corset, all you have to do is to notch the body of the corset and then pin your cup. So I'll stitch with 1/2 inch and also repeat this at the other side. So after I'm done stitching the both, this is what I have, right? And next, let's work on the yoke. So for the pattern, I added 1/2 inch round for this yoke, and I'll go ahead to open it up. So I'll stitch the neckline of this yoke, and also the armhole area. Here I added 1/2 inch round, and I have like 2 pieces on each side of this particular yoke for the back. So I'll go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch towards this part and repeat it on the other side, then before going ahead to join the sleeves, the shoulder part together. So I'm done turning the neckline, and for this part I added a little loop. Now I left the back open and I stitched the armhole of the front. I'll just wrap it around this part, stitch with 1/2 inch at the shoulder and stitch it back to the armhole. Now after I'm done stitching, this is what I have. So I'll place my yoke and I will start pinning. I'm going to pin the neckline all the way to the other side, and then go ahead to also pin on the other side of my dress. I don't want pull no trigger. I just want this, cause I can play. I don't want no wahala, no wahala, no wahala, no wahala, no wahala, no wahala. The last time that I checked. So after pinning, I'll go ahead to place my yoke. Starting from that point I have at the notched part of the dress at the back, that part that we have our nipple to nipple divided by 2, that is where I notched, and I'll now place my yoke and I will start pinning. So I'll also repeat this at the other side of my dress. So after pinning, I'll go ahead to repeat this on the other side of the dress also. So after I'm done stitching, this is what I have, right? I stitched on this part, and I'll go ahead to take out my pin. Now it's time to attach the lining to this part of this dress, right? So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead to pass this boning to it. I actually passed it before, but I removed it, so I'll just go ahead to pass the boning through it. So now what I'll do is to place the neckline area together, and I will stitch it down with 1/2 inch at the neckline of this dress, and I'll stitch the sides with 1/2 inch. So after I was done stitching the neckline first, so you can just pull the lining back to, you can pull the 1/2 inch back to the lining and stitch, or you can notch. So I decided to like notch mine and cut out some excess that we have on the top, especially on the bra foam, to avoid making that part of the skull bulky. For the second boning I added underneath the sewable boning is a plastic boning, a smaller size of a plastic boning. This is to make the center part of this corset firm, right? So I'll just trim out some excess of the foam to help this cup area relax very well. I'll now go ahead to stitch the sides of my dress, after I'm done passing the boning. So after I was done stitching, I ran like 3 stitch on the side. The first one is for boning, the second is for eyelet, and the next one is for boning at the back. This will help the lacing area to be firm, to avoid it from being too soft, so that when you lace up the back it's going to stand firm. So after that, I'll just explain how to wrap up the lower part of this corset to avoid the video being too long. So here is the fabric I cut out. I'm just going to wrap it round, and I'll place stitch with 1/2 inch at the hemline together with that of the front. Then after stitching, I'll just go ahead to fold it to the front this way, and I will stitch. You can also pull it to the back if you want. So after I was done stitching, this is what I have. If you have any question regarding this tutorial, please go ahead to leave your question at the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up and join us in our next video. Thanks. I also added eyelets to the corset, and this is the final look of the dress.